This was not a laughing matter. This was no joke. This was a serious life decision. So I just have a few steps. I actually left out a few of the steps when covenants were cut. I just tried to extract the most relevant to what I'm trying to say. So from my steps, of course there are a lot more steps, but from my steps, that you would actually remove, if you're going to cut a covenant with someone, you remove your coat or your cloak or your robe, and you would exchange that. And essentially what you're saying is, I give you my life. So people would cut covenants between families. For instance, if they have ties or you want to enter into a business relationship. Of course, it was an agrarian society, so a lot of agriculture. So you want to get into a business relationship with someone, then you would cut a covenant. Or you're trying to get some financing or that sort of stuff. And even marriage was a covenant, and still is a covenant. That is a subject by itself. But anyway, so what would happen is there would be a ceremony to cut that covenant. And the first step would be that you exchange your robe or your cloak. In other words, you're saying to that person that you're cutting the covenant with, I'm giving you my life. Imagine that. I am giving you my life. And we see here where Jesus, his robe or his clothes was taken off and he was given a scarlet robe, but in mockery. They used that to mock him as a fake king, making fun of him. And then forming this crown of thorns and putting it on his head. Can you imagine this, piercing his skull and blood oozing down his face because of the crown of thorns, and mocking him like a king. If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself. The second step I have here is they would have this removal of your belt. That belt that you would have around your waist that would not only serve to hold up your trousers or whatever, or to tie your garment or your robe together to keep it around the waist tight, but also to use as a holster for your weapons. So when you give up your belt, you're essentially saying that I am giving up my ability to fight. I am giving up my strength. So therefore, my battle is now your battle. Your battle is now my battle. And then you would, at this stage, you would have to cut the covenant. But this would be the ceremonial part where you would take an animal and you would cut it all the way right down the middle. And then you would split the halves, the bleeding halves or the bloody halves. And then the two covenant partners would stand in between the two bloody halves with their backs facing each other. And of course their faces facing the bleeding or the bloody half of that animal. Very gruesome. And then they would make a figure eight. Walk around making a figure eight and then coming back and facing each other. And in that ceremonial section, they're essentially saying that at this juncture, whatever has happened to this animal may be done to me if I break this covenant. But we see blood is being shed. Now this is a sacrifice. But a covenant being cut.